Hello everyone, I hope you all are enjoying your summer just as much as I am, and it is finally time for part 3. We have the beautiful summertime Claudia joining us in the gacha, and we are getting ever closer to that long-awaited part 4 with the strongest memoria in the game. So that is personally what I'm going to be saving my gems for, mostly. If you haven't heard of that yet, just know that that's coming. And also, if you want a time to spend cookies, don't dump them all just yet. With part 4, we are getting a dungeon that gives character pieces as a reward. So it'll be 2 times everything. There'll be character pieces, lots of tickets. So part 3 is exciting, but we do have one more part coming, and that is kind of when you're going to want to be spending your resources. So hold on to them for now. Part 4 is coming. It's kind of whatever, honestly, but there's a lot of good stuff, so yeah, be waiting for that. And there's not really too much interesting in this update, just a bit more added to the event. We have the Ice Tower trial. Good luck with that. I suppose it's all 20 floors this time, but it's just gems. If you can't do it, it's okay. But yeah, let's just get straight into the banner info. So go here, and yeah, this banner once again is a single character banner with just Claudia and a memoria. So first up we have the memoria. This is a standard breaker memoria. Boosts stun damage by 65% when attacking a target's ice weakness. Standard breaker stat spread with 6% speed. I think by now all of you probably know how I feel about breaker memoria. They are just not worth going after, right? It's just too expensive for too little payoff. Stunning most enemies isn't really that realistic anyways in the end game, and it's just not worth it for how much effort you need to like get them to a reasonable level, right? So memoria, not really particularly good. I wouldn't recommend pulling for it. Then we have Claudia. Because the memoria is an icebreaker memoria, Claudia is also an icebreaker. She is like our third one or something, but she is pretty good. First up, I'm going to go over her leader skill this time. So her leader skill is 50% magic attack for seasonal characters. If you're using a seasonal character as your attacker, this leader skill is crazy. It's really, really strong. 50% magic attack is a lot. There are a few seasonal attackers that are very good. Christmas Resna is very good, especially in Ice Tower, but her burst is good enough for most content in the game in general. Summer Valeria, of course, very strong character, very good leader skill for her. Then we have New Year's Mari, if you're still using her for any like content that really wants high single target damage. Mari is quite solid, and it's a pretty good leader skill for her as well. And then we also have Summer Ryza, and it is a good leader skill for Summer Ryza. However, most of the time, depending on what you have for the team, Academy Ryza's leader skill is going to be better if you have her. But if you don't have Academy Ryza for like the full Initiative Ryza setup, Summer Claudia's leader skill is going to be the next best thing, and she'll be an absolutely fantastic addition to any Summer Ryza team. So if you do have Summer Ryza and you want to use her as kind of your main attacker / sweeper going forward, you absolutely really want Summer Claudia for that. So, you know, very, very strong leader skill and her kit. As far as her kit goes, she is another charge indicator character. She starts the battle with 2 charge indicators for her skill 2. And what her skill 2 does is after attacking, it'll increase the target's magic attack damage received by 30%. Pretty standard for breakers nowadays. And if she has the charge indicators, she will boost the magic attack of your highest magic attack character by 20%. So pretty solid skill 2. It also hits all enemies. It's AoE. So it's pretty good. You know, first turn, it's going to be increasing magic damage received and giving a buff to your attacker. It does 2 things. That's really solid. It does 2 things offensively, I should say. So really, really good. And of course, you will want to scale this with the enhanced physical magic resistance down trait on her gear, right? So you will want to be gearing her up with that. The stun damage is secondary. Of course, if you're used to playing endgame content nowadays in Resleria, you'll know it's not really worth it to try and stun enemies most of the time. So there is one thing about her skill 2 that's kind of awkward, and that's the fact that it has 175 wait time. In most cases, it doesn't matter. It does make her fairly fast, In most cases, you don't really care about it too much. However, if you are planning on setting up the Ryza initiative team I've talked about before, if you want to know about that, more about that, go look at my initial summer video. That has a little bit more info on that. But if you are setting up that team, you do need to be aware of how fast this makes her, because usually you need her to be slower than the base Klaudia in your team, which can be quite difficult to do because this makes her so fast. So usually you need to intentionally slow her down with like a 0 speed accessory or something if you're using that specific team. Otherwise, you don't really need to worry about it too much. It does make up for her speed being quite low as well, so it's not all terrible, but it can be kind of awkward because it does speed her up a little bit of an annoying amount. So yeah, just be careful about that when speed tuning the team. Just because she's slower doesn't mean she's actually slower, because skill 2 wait time does affect your like starting turn order, and being faster than 200 does make the character quite fast. And then next up we have her burst, and her burst is honestly one of the stronger bursts we have in this game. For debuffs, it hits all enemies, and before attacking it'll reduce ice resistance by a whopping 50%. And then it'll also boost their magic attack damage received by another crazy 50%. So 2 massive debuffs that hit all enemies. This burst is absolutely crazy if you ever use it. It's really, really good. However, they did something really weird here, and I'm not sure why they did this. They gave it a 150 wait time. So instead of the standard 200, this burst is really, really fast, and it can create awkward scenarios where you end up using her burst and the debuffs have 1 turn left on them, and because the wait time is so fast, she ends up in front of your attacker after using the burst instead of behind your attacker. And what happens is she has to take a turn. You have no choice but to attack with her, eating all the debuffs that she applied with the burst. So it can be kind of awkward if you end up in that situation because the wait time on it is so fast. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you, but it can happen. It's just really, really weird. Yeah. But it is a really, really good burst. It'll increase your damage by an absolutely crazy amount, and this minus 50% ice resistance does help it break somewhat, help it stun somewhat, but it's still very difficult to stun with an AoE burst nowadays in endgame content. So, but yeah, really, really, really strong. Very good burst. Then her skill 1 is just a nice little, restores item gauge by 10%, which is pretty nice when you need it. It can help with double stacking items if that's something you're doing, which can be pretty good for burst attackers like Christmas Resna if you're doing that team. So overall, Summer Klaudia, really, really solid, strong character. You absolutely don't mind getting her at all. She fits into a number of teams quite well. Yeah, very good. And her passive, when attack target is stunned, restores item gauge 30%, boost stun damage. This is kind of whatever. If you do happen to stun with it, the item gauge recovery is pretty dang nice. Just don't expect that to happen very often in endgame content. Her other passive just gives her the charge indicators for her skill 2, so overall the passives aren't that interesting, which is kind of the weakest part about her. I don't think her passives are that good, but it's fine. She's still quite a good character and fits into a lot of teams. So yeah, very good. If you get her, I recommend generally using tickets on her. I do think we have better things coming very shortly in the future. So if you're, free to play, if you're saving gems, I wouldn't really recommend going all out on gems for her unless you really, really want to put together the Ryza initiative team. But I highly recommend waiting until part 4 to spend the bulk of your gems, because getting that memoria is quite important, but we'll go over that more when that actually comes out in another 10 days or so. And yeah, let's go over the recipes now. So the recipes overall, not that great, but we'll go through them. First up, we have the shoreline flute for Klaudia, not fruit, flute. While equipped to a breaker with ice affinity, boosts all target attack stun damage. I wouldn't really recommend ever making this. Generally for Klaudia, you would rather make the Glacie, which is the item they made for Roman. Ice Roman. It boosts debuff effect by 15% for icebreakers, so I think that's a lot better. You generally care more about the damage than the stun damage, so boosting the debuff effect should be quite potent. It's quite good. And also, if you do want a weapon with stun damage, you're probably better off using the ultra rare from the shop. It has good traits on it already, and it's a pretty decent weapon. So I generally recommend using that over making these because it already comes with the traits and it's pretty good. Then we have the Shoreline Swimsuit. The swimsuit, of course, is quite strong. It's the same as the Glacy weapon that I mentioned before. While equipped to a breaker with ice affinity, boosts potency of negative effects by 15%. So you absolutely do want to use this on her. It's really, really good. I do recommend making these for Klaudia. But then we have the sunglasses. These aren't really particularly strong. While equipped to a character with ice affinity, when attack target is stunned, boosts all his magic attack by 5% for one turn. So you do have to stun for this, which isn't really very good. Generally, for Ryza Initiative, you're going to need to put a much slower accessory on her, either 0 or 4 speed. So yeah, her speed tuning is a little bit difficult for that specific team. And there's not really any good options in 0 speed. You just go for traits and just accept that you're not getting a decent effect. For any other ice team, generally Heated Bangle, which is Leela's accessory, is going to be the best option because it lowers ice resistance, which is pretty good. And outside of that, there's not really anything too great. So yeah, the accessory options are very limited. The sunglasses aren't really helping because you're just not going to be stunning things most of the time. Then for the rest of the recipes, we have something kind of interesting, which is a bunch of usable recipes, so usable items. I've personally never used any of these on JP, so, you know, do with that information what you will. First up, we have the Shaved Ice, which I believe is an upgraded version of the Himmelshank, but it's basically exactly the same, except it gets extra uses. It gets 4 uses instead of 3, but it still does AoE damage with 150% damage rate, which honestly, this doesn't really matter. The type of battles where you would use attack items at all generally give you infinite item uses. So like item floors and tower generally give you infinite uses. So the fact that this gets an extra use doesn't really make it like appreciably better than anything else. So it's just kind of pointless, but it is technically better if you do have the materials, which you probably will. Then we have the Special Oil, which is the same as the Heartfelt Chocolate from Valentine's, except much worse, because it does the same thing, except only for 1 turn instead of 2 turns, so that's pretty bad. It does have 5 uses, but generally you're going to be limited by the item gauge recovery and not the uses in most scenarios, and the downside of only being 1 turn is still too much of a downside to really make up for having these extra uses. You'd rather see it be like 2 turns with 3 uses, really, than 1 turn with 5 uses. It's not very good. I wouldn't use it. I don't think chocolate is very good nowadays anyways, and this is even worse, so. Then we have the Special Yakisoba. It's an area healing item that removes Nullify Recovery and then restores HP by 5% to all allies. So this is kind of decent if you ever run into a scenario where you really just need to get rid of Nullify Recovery from everyone. It's AoE debuff removal. I've personally never used it because that doesn't happen very often, but if you do run into that scenario, it's a handy tool to keep in mind. So it is a good thing to have, even if it's not useful that often. And last but not least, we have the Special Trap, and this is the best of the usable items by far. It's a dark water except for ice damage, and it's 20% instead of 15% because it's specifically ice damage. So if you are making this kind of item for an ice team, it's pretty good. However, I think most ice teams in the game won't really use this. Like Swimsuit Ryza with Ryza, if you're playing like Ryza Initiative, that team is generally going to use the Icy Ointment instead, or if you're using like Christmas Ryza, you'll probably be using Dragon Elixir. If you're using New Year's Mari, you're probably going to go for Ice Caltrops. So it's kind of awkward, but if you're playing like Swimsuit Ryza and you're not doing Ryza Initiative, you might have a lot more like skill damage, and you can go this over the Icy Ointment with, you know, Ice Curse on it, and it's, you know, pretty decent. Yeah, it's not bad. It's a good item if you want to make it with Ice Curse. It's like pretty solid, so not bad at all. And yeah, that's about everything. I do have some tickets, so we can do some pulls real quick. I did decide to buy the tickets for this banner. And yeah, let's go. Let's set Claudia to featured. And yeah, let's just do our pulls. Alright, will we get lucky? I did end up getting, you may have noticed earlier when I was showing Claudia's leader skill, I did end up getting Beach Foul from the tickets last time. Oh, it looks like we have a 3-star, so that's nice. Oh, no, this is a pickup. Resna caught Val, so that's the special animation. That's cool. So hopefully it is actually Klaudia, not the Memoria. The Memoria would be pretty sad, but every 1 in 3 pickups is going to be the Memoria, so we'll see. Maybe we got lucky. That would be pretty cool. We'll be quite happy with that. Nice. Yeah, looks like we got her. Very cool. That'll be quite helpful for Ice Tower because I haven't done it on this account yet. She's so pretty. Wow, I've never actually seen this animation before. That's cool. I like how she turns the umbrella into a bow. Because I don't have her on JP. And of course, like all of the summer burst animations, it's quite fan servicey. Yeah, very nice. Very happy with that. What the heck? I just got that Memoria like 4 or 5 times. This is gonna look so funny. Yeah, I got that Memoria 4 times. Well, we still have another set of tickets. I may as well change featured to the Memoria since we got the character. Which is... eh. If we got the Memoria, that would be kind of... I wouldn't really care about it. It would be kind of weird. But yeah, very happy with the character. Oh, and another pickup. Yeah, this might be the Memoria. It would be funny if it was Claudia again. That would be pretty funny. Which it could be. Alright, let's see. Ah, looks like the Memoria. Both pickups and funny tickets. That's pretty interesting. But obviously, yeah, I don't care too much about the Memoria. It's kind of cool to have, I guess. Anyways, very successful pulls, I would say. Yep. I don't usually get pulls that good, so that's nice. Now, hopefully this doesn't mean it's eating all my luck for part 4, because that would be pretty tragic. But we do have a decent amount of gems saved up for that, so hopefully I can pull something. But yeah, that's all for this video. I wish you all as much luck as I got. I hope you all get Claudia. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.